you
Cool.
at home or are you at the
This is at
office?
the office. No, this is not my house. Yeah, this is our office right here.
Fanboy. I don't say why you're a fanboy like us.
Yeah.
We get a lot of these for free, so
Oh,
it's all-
sweet.
Yeah.
Well, for the fans who don't know, you obviously, like you're the videographer for Fight Network. You also co-host Review Raw with John Pollock,
Yep.
and you're actually there for UFC 200. Like you're also there for UFC 189, right? With Conor McGregor
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Chad Mendes.
Yes. Oh, I was actually at 194 and I was at 189. Yeah,
Okay.
correct.
Yeah.
Well, 189 was a big crowd, like
Yeah.
200, and you were there for both events. Kind of discuss a comparison of the two events and maybe like some experience, some of the stories you had from this past weekend.
This is actually the third year I've done UFC International Fight Week for the Fight Network. So the year prior to that, it was Ronda and I think what was that card? Ronda and was it Alexis Davis?
Alexis Davis.
Yeah.
And Chris Weidman and Lyoto Machida. And so that was kind of the first year that I really experienced this big event, which, something that kind of feels like it's the WrestleMania of MMA every year.
Yeah.
So it's typically that year, I believe they did that show, and then they did Frankie Edgar versus BJ Penn in the Ultimate Fighter finale.
Yeah.
The day after.
Yeah.
So I think it was my first time experiencing two shows back to back, and if you count the Friday Invicta show, then that was actually 3 shows plus the Expo. So that was like something different, and it was a little overwhelming then, but it was nothing compared to 189 and the Conor McGregor show. I mean,
Yeah.
you just like simply include the Irish in town, and like everything changes. Typically for a week, there's a lot of 189. They did. I think it was their first year doing 3 shows, and when people hear about 3 shows, it's not just for us. It's not just going to the 3 events. It's the 3 open workouts that preceded. It's the 3 weigh-ins that preceded, and just all the events that kind of lead up to it. And I think that one was like really special, even more so than 196, because it was my first time experiencing that Irish crowd. And I actually shot a video of the celebration inside the MGM right after Conor had won, and it's still an incredibly like memorable experience, just being in that crowd, hearing those soccer chants. Because I'm not a soccer fan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't really get that over here. So
Yeah. We don't get it over here either.
to have like those types of soccer chants, they're like doing these like coordinated dances that I didn't even understand. The shoes off thing, I have no idea what that stuff was. Well, so to see them all kind of packed into this like casino floor was like really incredible.
Right.
So I'll say that one still probably tops this show.
Yeah.
This one without Conor on the card, I think, the atmosphere was still huge because of everything that surrounded it. But being there, like in person, it certainly felt like the Irish added a lot more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think with Conor not being on this one, it would have if he was on this 200 card, it would have made it even bigger than it was? I think so,
Definitely.
right?
Yeah, I definitely do think so. I mean, I think as big as Brock Lesnar is, I mean, the combination of Brock and Conor McGregor,
Dude, it would have been massive.
yeah, it would have been huge.
Yeah.
Sure.
Do you think the UFC made a mistake? Because it kind of backfired in the end with Jones getting popped right at the last minute, and then they took McGregor off for like missing a press conference. Do you think it was worth it in the end?
I mean, definitely arguable. I felt like the initial move to take him off for missing a press conference was just a little petty myself.
Yeah.
It's sort of like a silly reason to take a guy off. But in the end, it'll definitely work out for them because now they have a huge buy rate in 200, and now 202, as Conor says, is like the real 200. So, they have 2 big shows instead of, just one big show. So I think in the end, it definitely worked out for them.
Yeah.
What's kind of interesting about this past weekend is UFC 200 was kind of the end of an era. Obviously, the UFC got sold.
Yeah.
Your thoughts on the UFC being sold, and do you think we have much of a change coming up in the next few years?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think it was just probably a smart business decision from the Fertittas. They probably thought that, the value of the company is probably the highest that it could be. at this point. I mean, I think if you remember just a couple of years back, the UFC was certainly, I would not say in a recession, but there was a certain lack of star power. That's for sure, right? After like after Brock left, I suppose, and really it wasn't until Ronda and Conor showed up that they had the massive year that they did. So.
Right.
I believe, like all things, like pro wrestling, everything will just kind of will kind of peak and then it will fall into a bit of a depression. So maybe they're sensing that, hey, this might be the best time that it'll get for the next several years. Let's get out and let's move on to something else. For now, they're saying like what we know is that they're saying like things are going to largely be kept the same. And I think that's a smart move. I think you need somebody like Dana in there, not only for operations, but just to kind of appease the public, because to kind of take Dana out of there and to change too much too soon, I think you'd get a lot of backlash from the public. And at this point, a company as successful as they are, why change anything?
Yeah. Yeah. What was the fight that stood out to you most about this weekend? Because there was a lot to go over. There's a lot of fights that happened. You got Thursday with Eddie Alvarez and Dos Anjos. Yeah. You got Friday and Saturday. What'd you take? What was the biggest fight for you?
I mean, I love the Alvarez RDA fight, as short as it was. I thought it was an incredible performance by Eddie Alvarez. But really, like, to me, I thought they're both so good. If you rematch them again, I don't know who I'd pick, because I feel like RDA just got caught. And it could have been Eddie Alvarez on the other end just as easily. But I think my favorite fight was probably the strawweight championship fight between Jacek and Claudia Gadelha. I thought that was just an incredible war. And I remember, like, we don't actually get to go out to the front because we're always in the back, either waiting for interviews or in the press room.
In the media room,
yeah.
So, like, I just remember, like, the sight of, like, all the media just gathered around, Brazilian media, I mean, media from anywhere. We were actually hanging out with Tom Lawler, who had just finished cornering somebody, and watching the fight with him. Every fighter was watching it. It was just like, it was a great fight.
Yeah.
So I think that, to me, was better than certainly any of the main card fights on 200.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure.
Yeah, because I was in the media room for UFC 199, and I think we're interviewing.
What? Say hi.
Was that?
Why didn't you say hi? Did I see you? Oh wait, 199.
199, yeah.
That's less.
Yeah. Dude, if I was at 200, I would have come up to you and give you a hug, man. But no, I was there at 199, and we're interviewing Jacare Souza for his scrum when Dan Henderson knocked out Hector Lombard. And Jacare, I remember him standing up and screaming, man. It was crazy. But speaking of Dan Henderson, Dana White announced that it's going to be the next fight for Bisping is going to be him and Dan Henderson for the middleweight title. A fight that doesn't make sense as far as ranking wise. Your thoughts on the fight, and do you think that they made this fight because of the story to be told as far as redemption for Michael Bisping?
They made this fight for money.
Yeah,
yeah, pretty much.
That it's a fight I personally want to see.
Yeah,
like I don't know. Like, you guys are probably. I see. I'm coming from, like, the perspective of somebody who just watches this stuff largely for the sport of it, but also largely for the entertainment of it.
Right.
So I'm never somebody who gets upset at fights that are made out of rank. I just want to see fights between two personalities or two people that I want to see fight. And I think to me, Michael Bisping, that's now either Dan Henderson or George St. Pierre. So I'm perfectly fine, and I think public interest says that a Dan Henderson fight will do a lot better than any of the other competitors. But what do you guys?
I'm not really a fan of the fight. I mean, I think if Bisping were to lose again, it would be. I mean, it would be bad. And I mean, Henderson's on the way out. You know what I mean? And he hasn't looked good in his last few performances, even though he won against Lombard and I think Bosch too. They were kind of lucky in a way. I think, especially with Lombard, it was a weird back elbow that he landed. I think it's just, I mean, I can see why they're doing it, but Bisping wants it, but I don't know.
Yeah, with me, I'm afraid that after this fight, he might retire.
Yeah.
And it kind of devalues that bout if he does walk away as champion.
The GSP fight would be the same too, I think. I don't think GSP would stick around at middleweight.
No, I don't think so either. Yeah.
But, I mean, the UFC is a business, and they're looking at somebody in Michael Bisping now. They have an opportunity and to really propel that, I guess, English market even further, and to do a huge number there.
Right.
And in my opinion, it's like those two fights, they'll be huge fights.
Right.
Yeah. So from a media side perspective,
yeah.
Do you think that the new ownership of the UFC, with WME, IMG, is that going to change how the UFC deals with the media and fighters? You think that will change, at least from a media perspective?
I mean, I certainly hope so. I'll say from my perspective, like the UFC has always been very nice to us, at the Fight Network. Especially now that, we are kind of partners, we air some of the hard fights. They've been really nice to us, but I definitely side with Ariel and Casey and Esther, who are all our friends. Like, I definitely side with them, and I feel like it was really unfair how the UFC kind of treated them. I hope. I mean, from the sounds of it, from what I heard on Ariel's podcast, it seems like a lot of the criticism of him is largely stemming from Lorenzo. So hopefully, with him out, maybe things will be a little bit more relaxed. I hope so. But something tells me though that they're gonna try to keep as much control as they still can, and we see it all the time. Like covering pro wrestling with the WWE and how limited they are with access to their like how protective they are of their public image, and I think the UFC will kind of continue to be that.
Speaking of WWE, Brock Lesnar, dominated Mark Hunt, a fight that was really surprising to a lot of people. Most people felt like Mark Hunt was going to go in there, knock out Brock Lesnar, and now Brock Lesnar coming out of that fight, he's like really hot.
Yeah.
Do you think that the WWE should book him as more destructive, and a guy that's could come into the WWE and maybe win the bout and be that guy, that top guy, fighting from the UFC now coming to WWE, or if you're want to control the booking, how would you book Brock Lesnar in WWE?
Well, first of all, I'd have to know how often he was going to appear for us, and you also have to consider the brand split as a part of all this too.
That's true, yeah.
I would certainly try to do my best to ride this wave of momentum coming off of this. I mean, right now under the WWE's roster, they have arguably the hottest athlete, certainly of today, right now. It's talked about athlete there is, who's an active member of their roster. So I don't know how I feel about this Randy Orton match at SummerSlam. I think, I would do my best to make that fight. I'm calling it a fight. Match worth more. Whether it be for a championship, or for something else, I would definitely try to propel Brock Lesnar more into the main event slot for a match that will garner the most mainstream interest. Like treat this like it's a WrestleMania match, with the most attention that there's been on Brock Lesnar than there ever has been in like many years. So I would try to get him definitely towards the title picture. Whether or not I would have him win the title, I think it's why not? I think especially now with like the brand split, you have another champion that you can use. Let's say maybe he becomes the Raw side's champion, and if he doesn't appear all the time, then you know what, so be it. But I feel like for at least the time being, the value of whatever championship you're trying to promote will be that much greater. I don't think there's ever been a time in pro wrestling where you've had a mainstream star be so credible before. For the first time, the WWE champion could be seen as the toughest person in the world, or at least one of them. And I think that's an opportunity presented right in front of them that they should take full advantage of.
How surreal was it to see a SummerSlam trailer on a pay-per-view, on the UFC pay-per-view? That was kind of crazy.
Not that crazy, to be honest, because like I feel like you just kind of have to look at all this from a business end, and it's like, to me, it just felt like a commercial for a movie that they were co-promoting.
Right. Yeah.
Like sometimes they. So not that surreal.
I was thinking, I was picturing in my head if Brock wins the UFC heavyweight title, that vision of Brock holding the UFC belt at Raw would be insane.
Yeah.
That would be crazy.
I don't know if they'd let him do that, but it would be crazy.
Yeah, that would be crazy.
Are you planning to attend any of the WWE events coming up, like SummerSlam or any of those?
Well, I just heard that Survivor Series is coming to Toronto, so we'll definitely do our best to try to get there. SummerSlam is all the way out in Brooklyn. That might not really be in the cards.
Yeah.
But if I did go to Brooklyn, I'd probably be more interested in going to the NXT show than
yeah, for sure,
than SummerSlam. But I'll definitely be watching. Yeah.
You lucked out, way, because I think Jason Agnew had to do review Raw on a night where it was the lowest rated Raw. Those stories, I mean, like that whole food fight, like you avoid that whole stuff. So I'm
bad for him.
Yeah, I'm happy for you that they got to miss that Raw. But how painful is it for you to watch Raw every Monday? Because I always feel bad for both of you guys, and then watching review of Raw, you're always like, okay, let's go on to the next match. This sucks.
I mean, I've kind of got it down to science now, where like Raw starts at 8 o'clock, as you know, for us over here at least, and I usually start it at 9 o'clock because I have it recorded on a PVR. I might even start at 9:30 sometimes if I really want to tempt fate, and then I'll just I'll blast through I'll cut through all the entrances. I'll cut through all the commercials. I'll cut through most of the recap packages, and you can finish the show in like a solid 2 hours. Wow. And I'm like, it's a kind of like a really intense 2 hours because like you have no time to break, you have no time to really even go to the bathroom, but you're just like constantly watching and digesting information. And in 2 hours, like I could do it, like I'm so used to it now. It's been like a couple of years that I've done it, so it's not that bad for me now. It's a little tougher, I'll say, like watching some of the older review shows that we do for our other podcasts, Review Away. Because like there's less urgency to do those, so I take my time. I usually leave those until like the last minute before I watch them, and it's like a 3-hour show that I have to try to get through late at night. But with Raw, because there's like that kind of urgency, even if it's something bad, at least you can kind of share the experience with a bunch of people that are watching at the same time. So it's actually not that bad anymore. And
do you go from your house to the studio to record
Here, I actually watch at the office.
Oh, okay.
The studio afterwards. Yeah, but John watches at his own place, which he lives very close by. But yeah, I think we prefer watching separately rather than on our own, so that we can like have different opinions and then bring them together.
Plus, you're sober too, which sucks.
Yeah. I mean, even if we weren't, I guess you'd never know, right? Have to hide it.
So, what do you guys got coming up on the next show, and what do you have coming up in the near future that you're planning?
So, Review Raw. When does this air, by the way?
This will be later today, actually.
Today, yeah.
Okay, cool. So, yeah, Review Raw is recorded every Monday night, right after Raw, and it'll be up on liveaudiowrestling.com. You can search it out on iTunes, and that's our recap of Raw this week. I mean, we'll see what they do with the Brock Lesnar news, whether they'll discuss it, how much they'll discuss it. And then Wednesdays, we release Review Away, which is our retro review. And I believe this week we are reviewing the edition of Raw with the draft, the initial draft from, I believe it was 2002. Maybe it was 2003. I don't know. John's the one with the dates. But we're watching one of that old episode, and we'll be talking about that.
Dude, that theme song for Review Away is epic. Did you do that, or who put it together?
You kidding me? We had a contest from our fans, and this guy, Colby John, he just like did this, and we were just like blown away because we didn't expect quality like this. He's an actual musician, so shout out to Colby John for the Review Away theme song. It's a lot of people say it gets stuck in their heads, and Jay did a great version of it when he hosted the show solo last week.
But yeah, Wai, thanks for coming on. It's great seeing you in the flesh rather than over the phone. So we appreciate you coming on, and maybe we ran the fans so I can find you on social media.
Yeah, you can find me at Wai0937. I love that. I believe that's like my tag for everything: Instagram, Facebook. I put up a bunch of photos. Everything we do here at the Fight Network. We have fighters coming in all the time, and a lot of pro wrestling news as well, and stupid comments from me if you care about that.
I love it, man. I love your nonchalant attitude during Review of Raw and Review Away. I love it, man.
It's kind of necessary sometimes.
Yeah. You know what? Like I still want to send you guys out like a care package, so hopefully sooner rather than later.
Cool.
I'll send it out, and then I mean, if you're ever in LA, man, hit us up.
Yeah.
We'll feed you. We'll give
love
you a green tea and mint M&Ms all you want.
Chicken
man.
and waffle. And Roscoe's chicken and
Oh, yeah,
waffle.
shout out Roscoe's. There you go.
Yeah. So come down. If we're in Canada, we'll hit you up. We can give us a tour of the Fight Network, man.
Yeah, would love to. Thanks,
All
Doc.
right, Wai, you take care, man. Have a great day, and thanks for coming on. We really appreciate it, brother.
No problem, man. Thanks,
All right.
guys. See ya.
See you later.
Peace.